Hi everyone. Thank you for waiting patiently for our facilitator. So our instructor for today is Usman Alazan from Ghana, and he's going to be taking us through web application security. So while we wait on him, I would like to introduce him who he is. He's a technology builder and a cybersecurity enthusiast focused on empowering the next generation of African innovators. He's the founder of W6 Industries and Earth Society of SEC, where he works across web development, ethical hacking, and digital education. His work explores how scalable technology and strategic thinking can reshape learning and opportunity across Africa while building and documenting systems in public. His philosophy is simple, which is I don't follow paths. I burn them, then I write my own in code. It's trying to tell us that as crowded as it might seem to be in the tech space, he carved his own niche and he's doing his own thing. So this is who we are expecting to take us for today's class. But before he comes, Engineer Emmanuel will be taking us through the class. So whenever he comes, he will just take it up from there.
So good morning class once again, and I welcome you all. So today we'll be talking about web application security. So what is a web application? A web application is a software application that runs on a web server and is accessed via a browser. So if you visit facebook.com, you are visiting a web application. Then the architecture of web application, it starts from client, which is you that use the browser. Then the web server itself, the application server itself, and the database. And the communication of web application can be in two forms. It can be in HTTP or HTTPS. And I believe these two hypertext, they are not new to you because we've been talking about all these communications from day one. It's all about the hypertext transfer protocol and the hypertext transfer protocol secure, HTTP and HTTPS. How web application works. User send request, that is from your browser. Server process the request, database queried, and then you get feedback. Last week, we used ZAP as an example, which is still part of web application for practical we did last week. And I showed you a section, the request the browser sent and the response from the server. So moving forward, why web security matters. The first thing, sensitive data exposure. Last week, we were trying the man in the middle attack. Remember, we were able to see sensitive data like username and password. So that is the reason we should know that web security matters. And also, it leads to financial loss. Just imagine it's a banking sector or one big organizations like that. They were able to see the vulnerabilities on their own end, and sensitive data are being exposed. Probably the credit cards number of customers. What are we saying in essence is that sensitive data must not be shown online, because if it shows, it's going to lead to financial loss for that organization. Apart from them losing an organization, we have international standard organization that will sue them and sanction them for that particular negligence on their own end. You understand? So all those things needs to be dealt with before all these issue comes up. Another thing is reputational damage. For instance, maybe you just discover there is a glitch. I remember, I think late last year or early last year when they said GT Bank has an issue. People were like, let me just go to GT Bank, let me go and move all my money. It affects an organization. It's a reputational damage. So what are we saying? Security matters when it comes to web application. So you need to understand that it matters a lot. Why are we teaching you this? You might not be a web developer. You might not be, what is it called? You might not be building application. You might not be writing codes. But as a cybersecurity student, you should be able to understand when you are carrying out your vulnerability assessment and your penetration testing. So you should be able to explain further and break it down for whoever gets that result. Remember, you don't just run results. You don't just run scan without an approval. If you remember, you don't just run a scan without an approval. Then someone who give you an approval must get a report. That is the reason we generated a report last. What is it called? We generated a report after carrying out a scan. Remember when we did vulnerability assessment practical, we generated a report. The same thing last week when we were using ZAP, we generated a report. So every scan and every penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, you have to generate report. So that report will show them what is really going on, what is the problem, and what is the solution to it. Common attack surface, login forms. Those are the places attackers target most times. Login surface, input fields, URLs, that is get parameters, file uploads. All your senses needs to be working with each other when it comes to you vetting for a phishing link. We are talking about web application security. So these are the common attack surface. We talked about the OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. We talked about it last week. We said it provides top security risk in web application. And the top 10 OWASP starts with injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, security misconfiguration, cross-site scripting, broken access control, etc. You can read more about top 10 OWASP. These are the overview. So injection attack, SQL injection. Attackers insert malicious code query, SQL queries. Then they can access or modify database. If an attacker is able to generate a SQL injection code, the attacker can insert it to manipulate the database, and then you can get access to that database and modify the database. That is the injection attack. Next one is broken authentication. We have weak passwords. Give me a few minutes. Let me look for that. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I want to share that particular interface for you guys to see.
Talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
All right, guys. I can see you guys are saying done. So, judging with what you just watched now, so I need someone to explain to me what happened. Anybody?
Okay, sir. So the interviewer asked her, like, what was her password? And she seems her password is like complicated that no one can easily know it. So the interviewer asked her what was her password all about. She said her dog name and the year she graduated. So and the interviewer goes on asking her like, what was her dog name? She mentioned it. Also asked her the year she graduated, and she also mentioned it. That is, she leaked her password out already and give out a hint about her password.
So you guys can now see that when you are online, you should be able to know the kind of information you give out to people. So to her now, you can see she thinks she's secure by not telling the person's the password directly. But as the interviewer is trying to ask her question, she kept on giving out information. The year the name of her school. You can see the interviewer didn't ask her direct question. The interviewer tried to manipulate her, and she gave all the informations out just like that. So if an attacker wants to have access to her account now, you can see that they've gotten the dog's name and the year she graduated. Are you getting it? So if at all you are using weak password, or you used a strong password, but you fail to train yourself not to give too much information out, then you'll be safe online. But if you fail to do all these things, then you have vulnerabilities. People will enter you, attackers will have access to you. You understand? Give me a few minutes. I think our instructor sent a message to me, so I'll be back. Then moving forward from where we stopped, someone should remind me where we stopped. I just want to know if you guys are following.
It's about us to protect our password and always be secured about it. That's what it feels that.
All right.
And also we should know how to give out our information out there.
All right, nice one. So you can see that if you don't give out too much information, then you'll be safe. Don't give out too much information. And there are some people that they will just be like, I don't want to forget this password. Let me just use my date of birth. It's too common. People use their date of birth, people use their name, people use anything. They think it's so simple to remember. But remember, in cybersecurity, there are a lot of tools that can decrypt. If you remember, our instructor, the week one instructor, tried to show us the list of compromised passwords that we have on Kali Linux. Sorry, on Ubuntu. I think no, she was using Kali, but she used Ubuntu for what is it called? So we have a list of broken password, and I'm going to teach you something before we go, because at times if you see a link and you feel, is this link safe? Let me just try to see if this link is real or is not real. You understand? You use the tools to get that. And also, for your password, you have to use a strong password. If you are using a weak password and you believe you are secure, you are not secure. Fine, if you use a strong password also, but you are being manipulated to give out your information, that is social engineering now. You are being manipulated to give out sensitive information. She's being manipulated to give out sensitive information. Remember, nobody sent link to her. Nobody sent any form for her to fill, but she gave out a password willingly during an interview session. So what are we saying? You might try to comport yourself by watching out on links you want to click, or you might try to comport yourself not to click on any link or not to visit any unknown website or etc. Then what about words that comes out from your mouth? An attacker will always try to drill you, will try to manipulate you to squeeze out useful information from you. Moving forward. So broken authentication, weak password, no multi-factor authentication, session hijacking. So let us continue with our slide. Cross-site scripting. We said an attacker tried to inject malicious scripts into web pages, then it affects others. Yes. If an attacker tried to inject malicious scripts into a web page, remember, anybody can visit that web page and it will affect others too. It will affect others. It's just like you trying to inject Facebook. And remember, almost everybody, let's say 60% of people will log into Facebook daily. And just imagine someone tried to inject malicious scripts in Facebook and the girls are, what is it called, affected. So that is cross-site scripting. Security misconfiguration, default settings. I made mention of this when I was explaining a router, that router default settings must be changed. That is the least security misconfiguration I can use for you guys. Because when we are talking about normal standard server, we are talking about firewall, we are talking about, you might not have access to those things. But when we are talking about router is something that is common. We've all used router one way or the other. So security misconfiguration, always change your default password, default settings. If you have a router, I've said it and I've said it again, that router's default settings is admin. If you want to access the web page of a router, and the IP address might be 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1 or 192.168.18.1. Those are the default IP address for router at times. You understand? And if an attacker is within the vicinity of your router and attackers try to access your router, you fail to change the admin username and you fail to change the password, definitely we have access to you directly to your router and it might log you out. Security misconfiguration is open ports. So remember when we are doing when we use Nmap to carry out our practical in our previous sessions, we discover open ports. We discover open ports for port 80, port 443, which is HTTPS, and port 80, which is HTTP. Remember? So if security misconfiguration is there, definitely web application security is not complete. Then on patch system, if there is updates, always update your system. Even at times you can see phone manufacturers also do that also. They might just tell you you have an update, a patch. So try to patch your what is it called, software. Whenever there is a patch being released or whenever there is update, try to update. If they don't see any vulnerability in the previous version, there won't be an update. It's because they've detected something in the previous version. That is the reason they try to release system or patch or update. Sensitive data exposure, no encryption, weak SSL/TLS, then data leaks. That's what leads to web application security breach. If there is no encryption, if there is weak SSL and TLS, and there will be a data leak. Tools for the web security: OWASP ZAP, Bob Suits, Nikto, and Nmap. We still have other tools. Our instructor wanted to use a separate tools because we've used ZAP last week and we've used Nmap before. But also, I briefly thought about this Nikto. I think in our previous class or the one before this, week 4 or week 5, I thought about Nikto. So these are the tools for web security, and we are still going to go back to our ZAP because I remember we did a lot of things last week on ZAP, and I want to confirm if you guys truly know what we did. So the practical overview here is intercepting requests, which we did last week. We intercept a request from a browser using a proxy server. Using Foxy proxy. Last week we intercept a request. We're able to see the browser request, and also the scanning web application, identifying vulnerabilities. That is what we did last week, and we're going to repeat same today, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions during that time. Ethical consideration, always get permission. I always tell you this. Last week I made mention of it. Always get permission. Don't just move ahead and start attacking people's link, people's website, people's IP addresses. Don't do that. Always act ethically. You are not permitted to scan or get or attack any IP address or website. Avoid illegal testing. I know you guys are curious, you just want to see how the application works, but always use the link we use in our lab. Remember, any simulation we carry out during our practical, during our lab, they are linked we are permitted to use. We don't just use random link. We don't just use company's link. We use links that are designed for cybersecurity testing. We use links that are designed for cybersecurity practice or practicals. Always get back that at the back of your mind. Then follow cybersecurity ethics. Follow cybersecurity ethics. The prevention techniques, input validation, use HTTPS, strong authentication, regular updates, secure coding. The key takeaways here is that web apps are major attack targets. That is it. Web apps are major attack targets. Believe it. They always attack web application. OWASP top 10 is essential knowledge. Go through it, try to read more about it, and you understand better. Security equal to prevention plus detection. So you need to practice very well. You prevent, then you detect. Or at times you detect, then you now try to fix it. Cybersecurity is not about theory. It's not about textbooks. You understand? It's about what can you do? What tools can you use? So practice is key. You just have to follow it step by step. So I'm going to stop my screen now. So I believe we all have our ZAP installed. If you have your system, please signify. If you have a system, please signify. So please launch your ZAP. So while we get the PC ready, I think Mr. Kendi wants to share his screen for us. For you to know if a site is safe, if a link is safe to click on, or if a file is safe, I want us to open our browser while we wait for Mr. Kendi to load his system. Let us go to our browser and search, visit this website, Virus Total. Just search for Virus Total. Click the first Virus Total homepage, virustotal.com. You see this particular website. If you are curious about a link, or you are not really convinced about that link, you don't know how, if that link is truly legit or is safe to click. So we are going to test the normal link we always use, http example.com. Please, are you all with me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we want to confirm if this particular link is safe to click on, if it is safe to visit. So I'll put my target here. Here is your target URL or IP address. Then you click on search. So let's see what happens. You can see this particular website, Virus Total is trying to tell us that no security vendor flagged this URL as malicious. You can see it's telling us it's clean. We are going to test another URL that we've been using for our practical so far. So let us go back. We are still using URL. So let us use www.vulnweb.com. vulnweb.com. So let's see if that site is free. You can see Virus Total is telling us it's free. So let us try and test. So http test php.vulnweb.com. So let us try. So this is what I'm trying to achieve. You can see this particular URL has an issue. You can see one security vendor flagged this URL as malicious. So what are we saying? If you see any link that you are not really convinced about, you just have to make your research. Visit virustotal.com, paste the URL of the target and scan. Then you'll be able to understand, oh, is this URL flagged by someone as a malicious website, or is safe to visit? So another URL we are going to, it's a website we can scan also for cybersecurity practical. I've sent it there too. So let us go back to our browser. I'm going to paste that link. So and I'm going to search. You can see if you check this, if you check the security vendor analysis, they said this website carries out a phishing what is it called? A phishing attack. So I'm going to visit that website using my Kali Linux. Hold on, let me share my entire screen. So that particular website I'm going to visit. So I want us to see this particular what is it called? So if you go through this website, you can see web application exploits and defenses. This particular website is free for cybersecurity students to use. So this particular website has been flagged. Someone flagged this website as what? Criminal IP, phishing. You can see. So if you want to check if a particular link is secure to visit, you use virus total. And also if it is document, maybe someone sent you a file, you just need to upload that file here, then you scan through. It's free to use. It's an open source tool to use, so you can use it. That is how to use virus total. Then there is another link that you can use to confirm if you've had password breach before. The tool to use is ibeenfound.com. So this is where you know that I have a password breach before. Someone has seen my password before. You understand? And at times when you discover you have a password breach, it might not be through you using a weak password. It might be from a web application you visited and they failed to do the necessary thing on their own end and got your password breach for an attacker to see, then it will be listed that you have a password breach. Are you getting my point? So I'm going to use two accounts now. I'm going to use SAICloudGuardians@gmail.com. So I'm going to check if our password has been breached. You can see we have 0 data breaches. That is, our password is secure. Our password, our email and password have not been involved in any data breach. Nobody has seen our password so far. Can you all hear me? Can you all see my screen? All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So someone should just give me any email to test. No other string attached. This one is not about someone is trying to answer. You just want to confirm, is there any data breach on that particular email? Then if there is data breach, the person will have to change his or her password to a stronger one. So anybody, we are pasting Oyindolapo's email now. So let us check. You can see Oyindolapo have one data breach. You can see Oyindolapo has one data breach. This email address has been found in data breach. Review the details below to see where the data was exposed. You understand? So that is it. So if you've experienced data breach, all you just have to do is to use what is called a strong password. Change your techniques. Use multi-factor authentication. So we are going to test. Someone else sent his mail. So we are going to test Corede now. So let's see Corede's. I'm going to check. You can see Corede has 0 data breaches.
Yes, I need to ask one question, sir.
Okay.
So you made mention of something initially about the multi-factor authentication. I wanted to ask, what's the difference between multi-factor authentication and two-factor authentication?
All right, thank you. So any factor authentication that is more than 2 is multi-factor. That is more than 2 is multi-factor. You understand? So multi-factor simply means you use the password. You verify through your email, apart from the password you used. Then also probably you have a third party, what is it called? Maybe you use Google authentication or authenticator. Also, you've used more than 2, and at times you might use a passkey. You've used the password, they send an OTP to you, and also still requesting for a passkey. Definitely is more than 2, is multi-factor. So you are authenticating in multiple ways just to verify you are the right owner of that particular app or web application or account. So I think I'm clear with that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. So, Mr. Kennedy, hope you are ready to share your screen for us, so we'll be able to see your ZAP from your own end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm dropping my screen. So let me grant you permission. Okay, so Mr. Kenny, thank you for sharing your screen. And we believe you set up your proxy last week. So without wasting much of our time, we want you to practicalize. Please just do an automated scan on example.com. Let's see, and generate a report for us. For those who are not in class last week, please check through what it's doing. It's trying to attack a website, but remember the attack is trying to carry out is on a website that we have permission to do. So it's trying to attack example.com to see the vulnerabilities on that particular web application. Let me just go back to my ZAP. Here is the interface. After a successful attack, then you have to come here on reports. You can see report here at the upper right of the screen here. Click here and click on generate report. So here you have to choose your template. Choose your traditional, what is it called? Choose your traditional PDF format report, or you choose HTML or JSON format. But we want to use traditional PDF. Please, someone needs to mute his microphone. Who is that, please? I think it's Oshunbi Kennedy. Okay, I think he might be. So I choose traditional PDF report and I click on generate report. So this is how I got to this interface, and the description and what is it called is there. So last week also we simulated an attack configuring our Firefox. We configure it in a way whereby we want any website we visit on this particular browser, or any URL, anything we do, the ZAP should listen to the conversation. So this is how you act as man in the middle. You see what that person is browsing, the website is browsing, whatever is doing, the login details, everything. You'll be seeing it here. If you were unable to attend last week class, please go back to last week recordings to see all those ones. And also we simulated something last week. We were able to visit a website, and we use a username and password for that particular website, and the man in the middle simulation were able to see the login details of that particular web page. So if we visit a website now, I'm going to use this particular browser. So we visited testaspnet.vonweb.com, and we have this login page opened. And remember, last week we configured what is it called, Firefox using the ZAP proxy, which we did here. We configured our proxy to listen to conversation, and we configured it to listen to port 8080. So we configured our machine, which is the local host. Assuming you are targeting someone else approved URL or IP address, the host name will be here. So you input the host name here. So go back to last week's video. You'll be able to understand how we arrived here, how we generated a certificate on what is it called, on ZAP, and then we embed it in our Firefox for proper approval. So go back to last week's video, you understand how we achieve all these things. So here we acted as a man in the middle, whereby we want to listen to conversation on this browser. and we use the password. We can decide to use we can decide to use a separate name. Let us use adex as username, and use a password, any strong password you want to use, any strong password you want to use, and then immediately you click on login. Immediately you click on login, fine. You didn't see anything, it doesn't take you anywhere. But believe me, the attacker backend is seeing your details. So how will the person know? So we have to check through. We have to check through. If you click, so let us see. So if you have any question or anything, please let us know.
Sorry, sir. About the man in the middle, sir.
Okay.
We configuring the man in the middle as we did it here as an example. It's like we doing it ourselves and being the man in the middle ourselves. But
Yes.
on a better, effective way, we can't just access other people stuff, other people's system or private to configure the proxy configuration, right?
Yes. You can't just use any other person's what is it called? So that is the reason we are in a controlled lab. You are in a lab whereby you have to use yourself as an example. You understand?
Okay.
Because that is the reason we are using local host. That is the reason we are using local host. We are using our machine because the browser we configured is still on our machine. So we just configure our machine to listen to port 80 on our machine. That anything that goes out of that particular browser should be
Okay,
redirected.
sir, understood, sir.
Should be redirected.
The attendance link has been dropped. Thank you, everyone, for staying through. And we are sorry for any form of inconvenience